Imagine checking your brokerage app on a random Tuesday morning, coffee in hand, and seeing a dividend payment land in your account before you've even finished getting dressed. No client calls. No boss, no alarm clock dictating that money. Just your money working while you slept. That's not a fantasy reserved for people with six-figure salaries. That's something you can start building with $25 a week. Less than what most people spend on takeout in a single day. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how Mike, our example investor, turned a $25 weekly investment into a Fidelity index fund portfolio that pays real, growing dividend income. I'll show you the exact strategy behind it. The mistake almost every beginner makes when they try this. And by the end, the weather is really nice and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Stick around because the final number is bigger than most people expect from just $25 a week. Let's start with the basics, because if you're new to this, you need to understand what's actually happening with your money. When Mike buys shares in an index fund, he's not betting on one company. He's buying a small slice of hundreds of companies at once. Some of those companies pay dividends, a portion of their profits, directly to shareholders like Mike, usually every few months. Instead of taking that dividend as cash and spending it, Mike's something smarter. He reinvested, automatically buying more shares with them. This is called a DRIP, or dividend reinvestment plan. Think of it like a snowball rolling downhill. It starts small, but every rotation picks up more snow. Every reinvested dividend buys more shares. Those new shares pay their own dividends next quarter. Those get reinvested too. Over years, that snowball turns into something that would have seemed impossible on day one. Now here's the mistake almost everyone makes when they start chasing dividend income. They go straight for the highest yield they can find. A fund paying 8 or 9% sounds incredible on paper. But high yields are often a warning sign, not a reward. If a fund is paying out that much, it's frequently because the market doesn't trust its growth, and the share price has stagnated or is quietly declining. You end up with income today at the cost of your portfolio's actual value tomorrow. What Mike focuses on instead is total return. A mix of three things: dividend yield, dividend growth rate, and share price appreciation. A fund paying a modest 2% yield but growing that dividend by 15% a year while the share price climbs steadily will absolutely crush a high-yield fund that never grows over a 10-year stretch. That's the entire game. Not what you earn this quarter, what your income and your portfolio look like a decade from now. So how did Mike actually pick his funds? 4 criteria every time. First, a reliable starting yield. Enough to matter, but not so high it signals risk. Second, a strong historical dividend growth rate, ideally with a multi-year track record of increases, not just a lucky year. Third, consistent share price appreciation, because Mike wants his portfolio growing in value, not just handing him a check. And fourth, diversification, spreading across different sectors and fund types so no single downturn wipes out his progress. Using those 4 filters, here's the Fidelity-based portfolio Mike built. Fund 1 gives him broad exposure to mid-sized U.S. companies. The ones past the risky startup phase but still with real room to grow. It's the engine of his portfolio's dividend growth. Fund 2 adds extended market exposure, picking up smaller and mid-cap names the big index funds skip. Its yield is modest, but its dividend growth rate has consistently outpaced inflation by a wide margin. Fund 3 anchors the portfolio in large, stable blue-chip companies, the ones that keep paying and growing dividends through recessions, not just bull markets. Fund 4 is Mike's total market fund, giving him a single position that touches nearly the entire U.S. stock market, smoothing out the ride when any one sector has a rough year. And Fund 5 rounds things out with a sustainability-focused index, adding a layer of diversification while still meeting the same yield growth appreciation criteria as the rest. Blended together, this 5-fund portfolio gives Mike a combined starting yield in the low single digits, but a dividend growth rate that's historically compounded near 15 to 20% annually, alongside solid long-term share price appreciation. That combination is the whole point. Modest income today, exploding income down the road. Now let's talk about risk for a second, because no honest investing video skips this part. Index funds aren't guaranteed. Share prices can and do drop, sometimes sharply, during recessions or market corrections. Dividend growth rates from the past 10 years aren't a promise for the next 10. This strategy requires patience, and it requires Mike to keep contributing even when the market feels shaky. Especially then, actually, since that's when shares are cheapest and his $25 buys more. Alright, here's the part you've been waiting for. What does $25 a week invested consistently and fully reinvested through DRIP actually turn into? Mike starts with $25 a week. That's about $100 a month, or $1,400 a year. Nothing dramatic. In year 1, between his contributions and modest early growth, his account is sitting somewhere in the low 4 figures. Not exciting yet, and that's normal. This is the part of the process most people quit during, because compounding hasn't kicked in visibly yet. By year 5, the picture starts changing. His total contributions are still relatively small, but the reinvested dividends have started buying meaningfully more shares, and those shares are paying their own dividends now too. The account isn't just growing from what Mike puts in anymore. A real portion of the growth is coming from the portfolio itself. By year 10, this is where it gets interesting. With consistent $25 weekly contributions and a decade of dividend reinvestment compounding on top of steady share price appreciation, Mike's portfolio has the potential to be worth well into 6 figures. Built almost entirely from an investment most people would have dismissed as too small to matter. And the dividend income alone, if Mike chose to stop reinvesting and start collecting it as cash, could realistically be in the hundreds of dollars per month, growing every single year without him adding another dollar. Compare that to the alternative path, trying to save that same eventual balance in a regular bank account, with zero compounding working in Mike's favor. It's not even close. The difference isn't the $25 a week. Anyone can find $25 a week. The difference is what that $25 a week is doing, while Mike isn't thinking about it. That's the real lesson here. You don't need a 6-figure income or a lump sum inheritance to start building a dividend income stream. You need consistency, the right mix of funds, and enough patience to let compounding do what it does best, which is very little for a long time, and then suddenly, a lot. If you want to see how Mike could reach this exact same income goal but 10 years faster, click the video on your screen. I break down the exact contribution changes that make that possible.